Testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. I'll be in the stream in a second, just getting it ready. Put in the chat if the audio looks good. We're about to start here. Let me get one more thing ready quickly. Make sure the audio is working. Just let people get in here for a minute. I hope all of your guys' days are going good. We got a lot of snowstorms in our future. One this weekend, one early next week, and one late next week, and then likely more after that, with Arctic air actually coming down from Canada into the United States. And I'm just telling you, the rest of January is going to be nothing like what December was like. It's going to be nothing like what December was like. It's going to be a lot colder and a lot snowier for a lot of people, especially in the central United States. Northeastern United States, that's also possible, but really the central United States, we're going to see some big changes here soon. And let's just see how many people we got right now before I start. Alrighty, so I think we're going to start the stream here. Sorry if there's a little bit of background noise, it's pretty noisy down here, but we're going to start the stream out looking at the NAM3 kilometer model and looking at the latest run so we can forecast what's going to go on in the Northeast, because we do have a pretty significant snowstorm expected this weekend, so starting tomorrow, late tonight into tomorrow, through the Northeast, mainly the interior Northeast, but places like Boston, Providence, Rhode Island, Hartford, Connecticut. Those are some big cities that could get in on some big snow. So let's get straight into the forecast. This won't change a lot. This is pretty set in stone. But as we go into early tomorrow morning, this here around 7 a.m., we are going to see that snow, wintry mix, mostly rain start falling there in Washington, D.C. By the time we go here into around 9 a.m., we're going to see some very heavy snow start falling in a place like Philadelphia. And then as we get into here around 2 p.m., so right after lunchtime, we're going to get some rain-snow mix falling in New York. Rain-snow mix, probably just snow in Philadelphia. But this, you can just see here at 2 o'clock, that line is right over Long Island, just to the south of downtown New York City. So if this goes north, you could get absolutely nothing in New York City out of this event, and that's very possible. So probably a rain-snow mix going into tomorrow afternoon. Big-time heavy snow bands coming through Philadelphia, coming through Scranton, Pennsylvania, coming through Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, State College, Pennsylvania here as well. Really all of Pennsylvania getting in on those heavy banding by the time we go into tomorrow afternoon. And then here around 4 o'clock, we're still seeing some of that snow. If the snow is falling, it'll be really heavy in New York City. So if we're going to see accumulating snow, this will be when. But by the time we go into Saturday night, we're probably going to switch back on over to rain. And once we go into Saturday night, this here is around, let me fix this real quick. Let me fix the time real quick. This is around 6 p.m. here, and we're starting to get those snow bands coming into Boston. Going to be snowing pretty much all day throughout Pennsylvania, and then starting in the afternoon, a place like Albany, New York, Binghamton, New York, you're going to see these heavy bands through here coming through these areas in the interior Northeast, and that's really going to be dumping heavy snow accumulations, especially in this area right here, where we're going to have that heavy bands pretty much all day, multiple hours on end, 1 inch per hour rates. We are going to see that snow falling in Boston Saturday night into early Sunday morning. Heavy snow band coming in early Sunday morning, late Saturday night. Here, this is early Sunday morning around 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. You can see we're going to kind of have a rain snow mix in Boston. It's going to be close, but I think in Boston you're probably going to be mainly snow. Cape Cod, on the other hand, probably mainly rain. And the reason New York City and Philly aren't going to get a lot of snow is because this low is tracking really close to the coastline. And that means most of us all here are going to get rain. And then in the interior is where that snow is going to be. That's not what we want if we're a snow lover in New York City, but it's what we've got with this system. You're going to have more chances, I think, as we go along later into the winter, but this is just not your storm. And then still going into early Sunday morning here around 9 a.m. Here's 10 a.m. We get some backside snow in New York City. Continuing to see snow in Boston Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. So we could still see accumulating snow by the time we go into Sunday afternoon. And then it tapers all the way off for the Northeast by the time we go into early Monday morning all the way out of the Northeast. So that's just kind of what we're expecting in the Northeast. That's what the radar's probably going to look like for this entire event. And is it a blockbuster snowstorm? No. We've seen bigger, especially here in the Northeast. Earlier this week we thought maybe there could be some major snow in NYC. It's just not looking like it. That's not going to happen. This isn't your storm. But for the interior Northeast, this is your storm. We got a good area here from southern New Hampshire and southern Maine through New York, through Pennsylvania, of 6 to 12 inches of snow. This includes Worcestershire. I'm definitely saying that wrong here. Worcester here in Massachusetts, in western Massachusetts, all the way through southern New Hampshire, southern Vermont, Albany, New York, getting in on maybe 7, 8 inches of snow. Scranton, Pennsylvania, probably getting on 4 or 5, maybe up to 7 inches of snow. And then all the way through here to State College, Pittsburgh, you could get on a nice 3 to 6 inches of snow. So through this region, that's where we're going to have our heaviest snow. Of course, we're going to have some snow up here as well into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. But really through here is where we're going to have our heaviest snow bands coming through. And that is where we will get our biggest accumulations. But notice this cutoff line right to the north of New York City, right to the north of Philadelphia, and way to the north of Washington, D.C. So through here, I-95 corridor, in this region at least, you're not getting snow. This is not your storm in New York City. This is not your storm Philadelphia. This is not your storm Washington, D.C. Could get a dusting. Maybe could overperform in New York City and get up to 3 inches. I think that's possible, but I think 3 inches is your max. And that's if you overperform. Max for overperforming. So I think a dusting in New York City, a dusting in Philadelphia, and nothing in Washington, D.C. There's a really good forecast. And this is the National Weather Service, so it's pretty conservative. So I think this area right here could get it maybe even more than 12 inches in some isolated spots. We'll see. But that's the current snowfall forecast. Find your place on the map. And that's probably around the amount we're expecting. Now, another thing with this storm is going to be the high wind gusts. And we know that if we're in the Northeast, that the wind gusts up there are very strong when it comes to nor'easters. And let me check the chat here real quick to see if you guys have any questions so far. Hey, Mark Paley, how are you? How about that system early next week? Any chance of thunder snow in St. Louis? I think that storm is not it for St. Louis. It's just not the right system. Like New York City with this system this weekend, it's just not their system. I don't think that week's storm is St. Louis's system. That's the bottom line for me. I just don't think it is. I think we're going to have another chance late week, and that's a better chance. So wait till then for St. Louis. Wait till then. That's when I have higher confidence. So going into Saturday here, Saturday afternoon, strong wind gusts coming through Washington, D.C., up to 40 miles an hour, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, 50 miles an hour along the Delmarva in southern Delaware, southern Maryland. And then here, as we go into Saturday night, big-time wind gusts in New York City. Everything's going to be flying around. Those flags are going to be whipping. If there's snow falling, it's going to be whipping all around. Whiteout conditions north of the city are very possible in a place like Albany, a place like Binghamton. As these strong wind gusts come through Saturday night, that's when they're going to be at their peak, up to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So big-time wind gusts here. And then for Boston, those gusts will come through as we go into early Sunday morning. Throughout the day Sunday, going to be very, very windy, up to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts in Boston, up to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts in New York City. So you get the gist here, you get the deal. It's going to be a very windy snowstorm. Not blizzard conditions. I don't think that's going to be what we see for most people, maybe a couple people. But it's just going to be whipping around snow, and whiteout conditions cannot be ruled out, especially through this region where we're going to be having those heavy snow bands and those significant winds. So when you put those together, you got whiteout conditions in that region, and that's also the region we're probably going to have the biggest snow totals, so that is not a good mix. That is not a good mix there for that. Let me check the chat. Hey, Mr. Storm, how are you? I've never experienced thunderstorm. 3 times. Wow. That's crazy. Okay, so now that we're done with this system, we're going to talk about the next system in play, and that's the one early next week, so about 3 days from now. This system, I think, is even more significant than this one in the Northeast this weekend for some places like Chicago, like Central Illinois, like Northern Missouri. St. Louis, you're right on the line. And again, like I said just a couple minutes ago, I don't think this storm is it for St. Louis. I don't think this is your storm, unfortunately, and I'm a snow lover from St. Louis saying that. So I'm rooting for the snow. I'm showing the best model runs for St. Louis, but I still don't think it's a good storm for St. Louis. And if I'm saying that, it's probably not, because I usually try and hype up storms that shouldn't be hyped up because I'm such a big snow lover. So let's roll this back a little bit too far out there. This is the latest run of the American model, the GFS model. So as we go into Saturday and Sunday, we see that storm over here into the Northeast, but that's not what we're focusing on. Convert your eyes over here to the west. See the snow? See this low pressure center? This is our next storm. See the step in the jet? That's our next storm that we're going to have to watch. So let's continue to play this out here around Sunday. Early morning, we're seeing that snow going across Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado. Then, as we go into early Monday morning, we really start seeing the storm getting its act together. 999 low pressure center, heavy snow popping off here into Kansas, Nebraska, heavy rain popping off here into Oklahoma, Texas, some severe storms down here into the Gulf states on Monday as well. So as we continue to play this out, afternoon on Monday, we could see some snow across central Missouri. This includes the St. Louis region. So our first round of snow in St. Louis, central Missouri, heavy snow bands coming through with our low over the Texas Panhandle, 995. Still got heavy snow for a long duration across the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma and through Kansas and Nebraska. This is going to be snow that's going to be picking up fast on the ground, accumulating fast. And I think we could really overperform into the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles as snow continues to fall for hours upon hours there throughout Monday and Sunday. Now, pushing this into Monday night, we are going to see some snow again, that first round, into a place like St. Louis, into central Illinois, into Indiana. But look at this. Look at this warm nose that we're getting up through here. Could this cut us off in a place like Indianapolis and St. Louis from that first round of snow? Absolutely. Absolutely. The 540 line is kind of that freezing line, and that's way north of both of those cities. It's around Chicago. So, since this low pressure center is bringing in cold air, it's also bringing up cold, warm air in front of it, and that's going to what we call warm nose St. Louis, and could keep us from getting that first round of heavy snow. But north of that warm nose, we're going to be getting in on very, very heavy snow bands through Illinois, through Indiana here. And then here's our second round that we're going to have to watch right through here. This is going to be the round that possibly could bring blizzard conditions into Illinois and Michigan. So here is very early morning Tuesday. And before we go into anything else, here's another system we're going to have to watch later on coming into the northwest. Same time we're watching this system. That's a very powerful system as well. But let's continue moving this along. Here's early morning on Tuesday. And let's break this down. So we have very cold air coming in behind this. That punch of cold air is what I like to call it, coming in with this 989 low pressure center, bringing down that cold air. But with this strong low pressure center, we're going to have storms. And part of the reason of that is because it's pulling up warm Gulf moisture and warm Gulf air. And what's that going to do? You guessed it. It's going to warm nose a place like Indianapolis. It's going to warm nose a place like St. Louis. And you can see right there for St. Louis, we're in the rain. We're not in the snow. We're right on that line. Right on that line. And for us to not get warm nose, for us to see this heavy snow hit us in St. Louis, we need this to trend quickly to the south. So if we want big snow in St. Louis, we're going to want this low around here at 6 a.m. on Tuesday. We want it around Memphis, around South Haven, Mississippi. That's going to bring that warm nose a little bit farther south. It's going to bring that snow a little bit farther south. And bada bing, bada boom, you got big time heavy snow with that second round in St. Louis. So if we see that trend, we're going to have to root for it for a snow lever in St. Louis. So I'm rooting for that trend. But for right now, it's not looking like that. Pretty much every model run has shown this. A track sort of like this. More like this, really. But you get the gist here. If we can see a track more like that, then we're going to get big time snow in St. Louis. But there's only so many more days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, to see that trend happen. And we got to see that change quick. And we got to see it big time if we want snow in St. Louis. That's my opinion on that. Overall, I just don't think the cold air is going to be there in St. Louis. I think the warm nose is going to overcome that snow potential on Tuesday. And just outside the city, maybe 50 miles north and west of the city, you're going to be getting on heavy snow. That's my opinion for it. I don't like it. I don't like my own opinion, which I usually is a weird thing to say, but I don't like this because I'm a snow lover. But then, rolling into Tuesday, we'll probably see a change over to snow in St. Louis, and some of those heavy bands may come through later in the day as we go towards the afternoon. You can see snow by the time we go into around 3 p.m. But this is because a low pressure center, it's right here in the morning, it's moved through, and that warm nose is moving with it. So now here's the warm nose. Now the cold air is coming in through St. Louis. Now we're getting in on that snow. But for a city like Chicago, hold this back, you're getting pretty much snowed in the whole entire time. The whole entire time for Chicago. And so what does that mean? That means you're going to have probably some pretty heavy totals. But again, look at this low pressure center right here. It's right over St. Louis. Sorry about my voice. It's right over St. Louis here. And again, what did I say we needed? We need this low to be at this point over here if we want snow in St. Louis. Now that's a pretty big shift. That's a southern shift. That's a southeast shift. Is that still possible? Yes. Yes, it is. So don't lose hope in St. Louis. I may sound like I have, but don't lose hope. It's still possible. We just need that southeast shift. We need a low over Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, and southern central Arkansas to get big snow. We need a track like this. If we see a track like this, we're not going to see snow in St. Louis. And that's my opinion on it for right now. Will that change? Yes. So if we see the low pressure center form down here, then what do you see? Warm nose comes south, and snow comes south, And we're seeing snow through here, shifting south from Chicago. Again, is that a possibility? Yes. But I don't have a lot of confidence in it at this point. Can that change? Yes. Again, it can all change. But I mean, at this point here, early Tuesday, this low is just too far north. It needs to continue going this way, sorry about that. It needs to continue going this way for us to get big snow in St. Louis. And that's my opinion for right now. We cannot have that warm nose. If we have that warm nose in St. Louis, it's just going to be rain-snow mix. It's just going to be rain. So we need that rain-snow mix to move south, that warm nose to move south, that 540 line to move south over St. Louis, so it can be freezing, and we can have snow. And by that, I mean pretty big-time snow. So again, instead of having the low here, we're going to want the low maybe here. So it can kind of do that sort of track. And then we get in on that snow. That warm nose is going to be more here instead of through here. It's going to be more here if we see this southern track. So I know that's a big breakdown of it. That's a big breakdown of this. But that's just how I'm looking at it right now. I'm a youth weather spotter from Missouri also. We're getting lots of snow here in Cape Girardeau. Do you mean right now? Because this next storm, probably not. We have about an inch on the ground? Dang. Good for you guys. Good for you guys. Yeah, fingers crossed it does track more to the south. I don't believe in it, but I hope. I hope. Again, we need, instead of it being, the low being here, we need it to be more right here and get that southern track. Then we get that snow through here. I think I've said that probably a million times now. The winds on the second storm could be bad. Yeah, I'm probably going to get into that in Sunday's video. I might do a video tomorrow, but probably a video on Sunday. Get into those winds. I already checked that forecast for NYC. I don't know if you were here for it, but I just don't have a lot of confidence. It's not your storm in New York City. It's not your storm in Long Island. You're going to be right on the line. And I really do think New York City can overperform, maybe get 3 inches at the most. But if we don't see that storm maybe tick a little bit farther to the east, that low pressure center, I don't think we're going to see a big snowstorm in NYC. Just overall, it's not going to be a big snowstorm in NYC. That's the bottom line. Dusting, maybe an inch. And again, if we overperform and get that rain-snow line to move a little bit farther south and east, then we can get a bigger snow there. How much could Perryville see from this first system? The first system that we're talking about right now, maybe a dusting to an inch. Second system, nothing. Just going to be quite honest with you guys. Probably nothing. But let's continue forecasting this because I just did a whole rant about this. But we're going to have very heavy snow banding coming through Chicago Tuesday afternoon, if the GFS is right now. Again, not a forecast. This can change. But overall, if it takes that track, we're going to see big-time snow in Chicago. Look at this. Just focus your eyes right here. Focus your eyes right here. And just watch as this snowstorm pummels the city. Especially that second round, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night. And then early Wednesday morning. Tapering off for everyone early Wednesday morning. But look at that. That's why that's probably going to be the epicenter of accumulations here. Now, let's look at the Euro. Good old trusty Euro, probably my favorite model because it's usually more accurate than the GFS. So let's get into it. Here's our first storm again. Here's our big storm early next week that's going to affect Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, and Illinois, and Michigan. So it comes down. We see that storm really get its act together around the same time, early Monday morning here, around 6 a.m. And I will say, the Euro has been trending a little bit closer to the GFS with some rain-snow mix, maybe snow in the St. Louis by the time we go into early Tuesday morning. But again, that 540 line, it's north of the city. It's not south of the city. We need that to be south of the city to get snow. We need that to be south of the city. I'm just telling you that right now, guys. I'm telling you that right now. We don't see that. That's why the Euro shows rain snow mix. Then with the Euro, we see almost a identical track to the GFS, kind of going like that. Almost identical, like I said. And keeping that heavy snow, again, to the north and to the east of St. Louis, up towards Chicago, up towards Quincy, up towards, or to the east, or west, towards NYC. And look at that. What is that we see right here? A warm nose. Again, pulling in that cold air, bringing up that warm air. Strong storms down here into the central Gulf states. We got that warm nose. We got those red lines in St. Louis. You don't want to see that. And then we do see a changeover eventually going into Tuesday evening. But at that point, the heavy snow bands are up in Chicago and Michigan, not into St. Louis anymore. So we'll maybe get dusting to an inch with this scenario. And then a big punch of cold air coming in behind the storm. So it looks a lot like the GFS, and I mean a lot like the GFS. And to have that much model agreement this far out, and it's not really far out, but this far out is very good. That's very good. And then we see that storm leaving everyone by the time we go into early Wednesday morning. But again, same thing. Look here. Look at Chicago. Play this back. Snow. Big time snow bands. Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday night. Wednesday morning. Wednesday early morning. And then it's out of our hair. But look at that in Chicago. Just getting pummeled with multiple heavy bands, multiple rounds of snow. And that's going to bring probably the heaviest accumulations to that city, to Chicago. So get ready for Chicago, because I think it's going to be a pretty big snow event. Now, if we see that low shift to the south, shift to around here, what's that going to do? Well, it's going to bring this south. It's going to bring the snow south. Instead of seeing the snow up here, we're going to see the snow more through here. Okay? So that's if it shifts south, and there's not good confidence that it will. But if we see that, Chicago, you're not going to be in it for the most part. You still could see it. It depends how big that snow shield is, that precipitation shield is. If it extends out to here, then yeah, you're going to have the big snow. But I don't have a lot of confidence in that. But again, if we see that southern shift, not good for Chicago. Northern shift, what we're seeing right now, is good for Chicago. So in the coming days, if there's a southern shift, watch that in Chicago. Watch that in St. Louis. And I'll have updates. But if it stays around the same, maybe goes a little bit farther north, it's going to be staying the same in Chicago with big time snow. So, that is the forecast for that early week storm. Now, here's the let me check the chat real quick. Interesting. Just got home from school. Cool. Alongside a massive Arctic outbreak. Yep, that's going to be happening next week probably. Things will get active. Definitely. Oh, sorry, there's an ad playing above me for that live cam. But anyways, here's the National Weather Service. National Weather Service is very conservative. Just getting that straight. I think we're going to have a lot more snow through here. Maybe it could shift south if we get that shift to the south. But I think we're going to have a lot more snow through here. But I like to show the National Weather Service because they usually have the biggest handle on it, the greatest handle. So what does it show? 2 to 3 inches in St. Louis. So not a big snowstorm for St. Louis. North of the city, say towards Quincy and Hannibal, you got 4 to 5 inches. 3 to 6 inches of snow in northern Missouri, southern Iowa, around the Omaha area, around the Kansas City area. So through here, got a good amount of snow. And then up through northern central Illinois here, into Chicago, probably getting around 5-6 inches in Chicago, according to National Weather Service. I think you're going to get a lot more if we continue to see the trends on the models staying the same with the current solutions. I think you could get up to a foot of snow in Chicago. But I think probably 6 to 8 inches, 5 to 8 inches is a good forecast for Chicago. To the west of the city, maybe even more. Up through Green Bay could get even maybe 3-4 inches of snow. And then through I am not speaking well today. Through Kalamazoo, through here into northern Michigan, probably going to be dealing with around 3 to 6, 5 to 8 inches in the northern part of the state. And also through here, blizzard conditions possible. Blizzard conditions possible through here because we're going to have a very strong low bringing cold air, bringing warm air out in front of it. Going to have very close isobars here. And what does that spell? It spells trouble. It spells a lot of wind. Very strong wind through here where those very tightly packed isobars are going to be in place. So through here, blizzard conditions, very possible, very possible. Whiteout conditions, very possible. Don't travel. Do not travel next Tuesday and Wednesday throughout that region. It's going to be very windy, very snowy, heavy snow bands, powerful storm system. Airport delays, I think in St. Louis, Chicago, Kansas City, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Omaha. Big cities in the Midwest going to have big time delays with this system. English is hard, yeah. For me today, it really is. Now that we're moving, well, never mind. I wanted to get one more point in here that I kind of forgot about. So, as you can see, we kind of got some pretty nice snow totals here north of St. Louis, in through here. 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. What about in St. Louis, though? What's this? That's that warm nose. That's that warm nose that we're talking about. Bringing that warm air through here, getting more, low through here. Bringing up warm air, bringing down that cold air punch. We're bringing that warm nose. We're not going to see big snow in St. Louis. That warm nose is going to warm nose us. And it's a common term used. But north of the city, we're getting in on that heavy snow. Now, if we see that warm nose, which is right here, shift to the south, say we see that warm nose around here, what happens? Heavy snow bands through here, through the city. Is that a possibility? Yes. Can that warm nose shift to the south? Yes. So central Illinois, south central Missouri, south central Illinois, you're still in the game here. You're still in the game. It's still possible. But we're going to have to see that shift to the south, a big shift to the south. We're going to have to see that to be able to have a big snowstorm in St. Louis. I don't have very good confidence in it. Is it a possibility? Is it a scenario? Absolutely. So we're going to have to watch that. And also, temperatures in St. Louis for this whole event may not even get to freezing. So we're going to have to get that warm nose to get south. We're going to have that 540 line, probably around here, freezing line, to get snow through here. Okay? So stay tuned. We're going to watch the trends here. Now, snow's not the only part of this system. Also, severe weather going to be a big deal. And like I said, we're going to have a low around here on Monday. Let me make a better L right there. Cold air coming in through here. And then, big time front coming through here with that cold air. Warm air, moist Gulf air, and moisture coming up through here. That spells trouble through these states for big time severe weather. I think we're going to have a pretty nasty line of storms with embedded circulations that comes through southern Texas, southern Louisiana here, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and the panhandle of Tennessee. Panhandle of Florida. You're just north of Destin, Florida. So yeah, you're in that region where we're expecting severe weather. Be on the lookout. Be prepared here for Monday. Again, this is Monday. And here's the outlook. 15% chance. Wouldn't be surprised if this gets upgraded a lot, because I think we do have a pretty big severe weather threat with this strong system bringing up that warm moist Gulf area that supply and fuel storms. Also, very good winds, very strong winds above at the higher levels of the atmosphere. Very strong low-level jet, which, if you don't know, just is better for tornadoes. If you want tornadoes to form, you want a strong low-level jet, and there's going to be a strong low-level jet. So we got to watch that. And then day 5 here on Tuesday, this threat shifts over to the Carolinas, down into the southeast, down through Georgia, Savannah, Macon, Georgia, and a large chunk of Florida. Same thing there with a strong line of storms. I think it's going to be the scenario. I think the scenario is a strong line of storms. Some isolated cells, but mostly that line of storms with those embedded areas of circulation. I think that's what we're going to be dealing with this system Monday through Tuesday in the southeast. How long would this pattern go? Will it intensify? I think for as long as we, besides looking in the long range, for as long as we can look out into the medium range next week, the week after that, into January, into early February, it's looking like this pattern is going to continue to go on. And like you said, it's going to intensify because we're going to get big-time Arctic air. There's a big signal. Even the National Weather Service is catching on to this big signal of Arctic air coming into the United States next week and into the next week as we get into mid to late January. Again, coming into the western central United States. And what happens there is we get big-time Arctic air coming in through here. Then we get warmer air through here. Storm track like that. Maybe a storm track like that. Also could have a storm track like that. So what's the average of those storm tracks? Probably one through here. And what does that storm track do? Bring significant snow through here. So I think that's a pattern that's setting up for January. I really do. And that's the exact storm track of the storm we're watching late next week that we're about to get into here. And I actually wrote an article in my school newspaper about what I expect the winter to be like. And I said, there's going to be dips in the jet. And low pressure centers, storms, are going to ride that jet stream, which would probably look like this, give or take, are going to ride that jet stream, and that was what would bring snow to St. Louis. That's what I said. That's what the pattern I predicted. And what do we have here? That exact pattern. Now, is this pattern going to come into fruition? That's the thing that we don't really know yet. But if it does, big-time snow in St. Louis, big-time snow in Kansas City, big-time snow in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Oklahoma, Kansas, just in general. Kind of that, winter 2021, winter 2022 pattern that we saw. Or not, winter 2022 pattern that we saw. So, that's the pattern that we need, and that's the pattern that we're seeing to get snow in St. Louis. So I have high confidence that this month, in January, we're going to have a major snowstorm throughout Missouri, Illinois, Kansas. After this next one early next week, that's going to really bring significant snow to the region. And what do we got here? Look at this. This weekend, Friday through Saturday, this is probability of more than 4 inches of snow. Look at that. Big time signal through that region I just circled. Here's the European ensemble. A little bit farther south. Big time signal through that region I just showed you. So I'm just telling you, this is what we were looking at earlier this week for this system early next week. That storm track, which is about the same storm track that this system is going to take, just a little bit farther to the north. But that storm track is what we're going to probably see for a good chunk of the month here. And I think that's going to be the dominant storm track. And if we see that storm track come into fruition, big time snow in this region. I'm telling you guys, buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride for the rest of winter. Dang, I cannot talk today. But if we want to look at that on the models, let's look at it. So, going into late next week, around Friday, we have a system here coming through the central United States. This is northern Missouri, southern Iowa, into Kansas, into Illinois, again for Chicago. But look, we have another kind of northern storm track. But again, like I said this area through here is going to be affected by it because we're going to have Arctic air coming down through here, storm track coming through here, riding this jet stream through here, and then we get the big time storm through here, if you can even see that anymore after I do all that doodling. But I mean, the last run of the GFS had a low down here, big time snow for St. Louis. So we're going to see every model run at this point change. I would watch this storm significantly, closely, if I'm in St. Louis, if I'm in Kansas City, if I'm in Chicago, because I think there's good chance of this storm produces snow for those regions. I think this storm has a better chance of big time snow in St. Louis than the one early next week. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I really do. Just watching the trends. If we have another northern track, I'm just telling you, I'm going to be broken. I'm going to be broken by this weather pattern if we have another northern track that doesn't affect St. Louis. But that's possible. Again, I'm just saying, through this region, I think that's where we're going to have the biggest snows in January. I really do. And then, the 18th season's not out yet. But here's the Euro. Bada bing, bada boom. Arctic air coming down. Arctic air, well, maybe not Arctic yet, but cold air at least in place. Warm air in place across the southeast. Bada bing, bada boom. Look at that. Big time storm system. And again, look at that track coming through here. Big time snow for these regions. So again, that's going to be the track for what we're looking at least into mid-January, into late January. That's going to be the trends. And then here comes another system as we get into late next week. But I think this is a really big system to watch for St. Louis. I really do. I think it's just got a better chance. I really do think it's just got a better chance for snow there. So, after all that wraps up this More Weather live stream. I hope you guys are out having a great evening. I wasn't able to do a green screen video today because I'm a little busy tonight, but I hope this kind of breaks it all down for you guys. And let me just check the chat. The chat. Again, English is hard. Polar vortex possibly making an appearance. Yep. Late next week into the next week. It's going to be very active, folks. It's going to be very active throughout the remainder of January. Very active. Oh, thank you. Thank you for finding my channel. The winds on that second storm? Yeah, I can probably pull that up. Nam showing a huge northerner track. Yep. Yeah, let me pull that up for you guys. Let me pull those winds up. Alright. So here we go. Here's that system across the start of the week, next week. And look at that. Look at those big time winds we get here into Chicago area, into St. Louis, throughout the Midwest, and even into the eastern United States. That shows how big the system truly is, bringing down that strong cold air, bringing up that strong warm air. And it's just going to be a tightly packed isobar system with big time strong winds all around it. So that's what we're looking like. I think, again, whiteout, maybe blizzard conditions possible in this region. Throughout that region is where I think blizzard conditions are possible. So I hope that answers your question. Alright, that about ends the stream. Have a great rest of your evening. Another update probably on Sunday, or maybe Saturday if I feel like it. And then throughout next week I'm going to have a ton of updates. So stay tuned. Get ready. Buckle up. Central United States. Perfect storm track for big time snow. Rest of January. Get ready. because it's going to be a wild ride.